me here. All right, everyone. So with so much love as we come together for our Soul Circle Q&A, that we get to really celebrate the beautiful May energy, Taurus energy, the Earth Mother energy through our time together. And this is really important, that as we continue to go through the transformational work, as we continue to work with our bioregenesis vehicles, these are our suits that we're wearing in this lifetime, and our suits are our ability to take on organic matter. It's our ability to take on carbon form within the first harmonic universe, which is ultimately pretty much the densest place that we could be existing within creation and still maintaining a holding of our 12 tree grid of life. So within this awareness, it's going to be very important for us to remember to be gentle with this body, be gentle what moves through here, what moves through our emotional plane, because we're in a plane of existence that is highly mutable. It's always fluctuating, and everything you're mutating through your body, many times you're going to be sensing and feeling it as either a frustration in your brain, an overwhelm of emotion in your body, feeling a little bit heavy, clouded, or stuck. These are the ways in which we learn to read our responses to our environment. And we get into this mindfulness state that we start to go, oh, isn't that interesting? I'm feeling that right now. Where is it coming from? And if you want tools to help you to hone some of this in, there is a couple of things that guides have been assisting to bring forward. And one of those primarily is the soul coaching course that's available as a way to go through step by step to learn how to read these signals so that you can start to catch them and quickly start to allow your guidance team to guide you. What do I need to do to either move this energy through me in order to be the transmutation and transfiguration energy of this for the planetary field, or where am I guided to be now on the planet or within the cosmos in order to anchor this energy? What that means is that if you are feeling something, a lot of times what you're feeling is shifts and changes within the planetary body, within ley lines, grid lines, or shifting in the control of the machinery systems on the planet. We're going to touch into that. So the artificial machinery systems on the planet are literally, many of them being shut down, taken down at this particular time. As that's happening, the organic systems are starting to come in or actually come back online. So I'm going to show you a few pictures to kind of show this. But a lot of what we're feeling right now is shifting in the artificial grid lines that have been controlling the planet. And as the artificial machinery that's been hijacking the organic systems are getting shut down, cleared, they're becoming disassembled. That's how I see it. They're disassembling them, breaking them down. And then again, as they break down, it's kind of like rebuilding a home. The organic systems have to rebuild and kind of come back online. So sometimes you are being called to be a grid worker. You are being called to be aware of this energy, and maybe it's physically being asked to come to be in a particular place on the planet, but usually that's not always doable. A lot of times what it means is pay attention to the energy, ask your guides, what is going on that I need to pay attention to? Is it something in the soul field, ancestral lineage line? Is it something in the grid work, in the land? Is it something on the earth body? Show me where I can be of greatest service at this time, and be aware of what's been brought into your reality. Is it a state? Is it a country? Is it a timeline? Is it a stargate? Is it a particular chakra in your body that you can attune to that chakra, look at the universal tree of life, see where that chakra aligns to the planetary chakras on the planet, and see if that's where you're being called to anchor in. And then a lot of times what it is it's just setting neutral, compassionate witness to that energy on the grid and breathing it through, sending the intentions through, allowing yourself to be the physical representation for your guardian alliances and teams so that they can move vibrational light codes through you, and then through your thoughts and intentions on that particular place or land grid on the earth, you begin to be kind of like that funnel of energy that moves into that space. Okay, it's not as complicated as we like to make things out to be. The problem that we face with our mind is that we have then this question: I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if it's working. Like, I don't know if anything happened. I don't know if anything changed. We start to doubt and question ourselves as to things because I think we're waiting for some big old magical thing to happen. But what we're recognizing is there's lots of us working in teams right now on the planet. And so within this, as we begin to be aware of this vibrational energy, it's important to recognize that a lot of what you're feeling is actually your body kind of giving you the feedback, like a weather station to what's going on the planet. So let's kind of dive into this because I wanted to put that invitation to you guys to start to notice what's going on. Are you also recognizing that energy in the left ear? Are you also noticing the ringing? Are you also noticing some of the weird energies that you're starting to feel like in your dream time or sleep, or feeling completely out of it or out of body? So let's go ahead and describe what some of this is. The guides wanted me to present it in that way so that it starts to put the awareness in everybody's field that there's no one that has the answer that you need. The answers are all right inside of you. But what we also want to recognize is there are some massive things that are happening. One of the primary energies that is happening right now is this massive influx of energy that is coming in from these photonic rays from the sun. So I talk about this quite a bit, and I'm actually going to share. Let me actually share this today. So as there are these photonic energies that are coming in on the planet, they're not just solar rays. They're not just solar energies that are happening. It's really important to understand that we are basically light beings. We are photonic beings. We are emanations within this creation. Find you guys. Here you are. We are emanations within this creation that are basically living light. So as we get to look at this energy that we are living light, we're going to now kind of touch into this idea of what, where, what, and how are we being here in this physical expression, and why are these light codes affecting us? So let me share this. I'll come back to this right here. We're going to look at this particular slide right in here. And I wanted to look at this one because this is actually showing our solar system. This is showing some of the photon belt that is actually connected to the Pleiadian star system. And that as we see the Pleiadian stars, we can see them kind of going on a horizontal plane right here. And this magnetic field here, or this cycle that is moving, we get to see that Alcyone, which is where our second harmonic universe Earth sits within the Taran timeline in the Pleiadian system. Now we have a merging, a connection with this energy, and the important thing to really see within here is that Alcyone really never leaves the central orb of this donut of this system. And what we are experiencing in a lot of ways is we get to recognize that our sun is actually, you can see it on one of these horizontal bands that is also on a cycle with these stars. And as it is on a cycle within these stars at particular time cycles, it gets closer into the central orb. So it becomes closer into the field of connecting to the Alcyone system, the Alcyone star, and the higher Earth templates within them. Now, we're going to look at some of the distortions that have happened throughout creation that have created some of the distortions that we experience down here in our solar system. That when the explosion in the electric wars happened within the Tarn system, that we can imagine that all of this basically was in a rotational cycle and it got kicked out. Okay. And as it got kicked out, we ended up in kind of a lower, pulled down into a lower density so that we are not fully and completely always within the radiation and the light of the higher planes of existence. But at different rotational times, we start to fluctuate where we get closer. And these are our ascension cycles. Okay, these are our ascension cycles where the sun starts to get more in alignment into its original orbit and starts to merge again as part of the seven sisters or the seven stars. Our sun is everything. And when we think about the sun is the light. The sun is, for all intents and purposes, our God within the solar system. Without the sun, we would die. Everything, all living creation would die within the system. So we know that our sun is connected to the higher universal system through kind of this orbit and this rotation through the photon belt to the Pleiades. Okay, so the second harmonic universe up. We have this harmonic connection there. Our brain doesn't totally understand it, but play with it. It's there in your heart. Now, as this rotation happens, we get to recognize that the sun isn't supposed to be in this density. Imagine it as one of these solar beings. This kind of goes out there, but these Pleiadian stars are like solar beings. They are they have planetary bodies around them. They have systems around them that also work within them that many of you remember. And within these Pleiadian star systems, they actually have a harmony to the seven solar Rishi stars within Ursa Major in the Big Bear system. Okay, so the Pleiadian system is kind of holding the divine feminine template. The Ursa Major system is kind of holding the divine masculine system, but they have a twinning or a harmony or a partnership between these stars. Okay, now within this vibrational energy, after that, the Pleiadian system then anchors in to the stations of Christ within the Sirian star system. So that is why, if you actually look at orbital kind of connections to stars, we have that photonic belt connection to the Pleiadian star system, but dive into the Dogon teachings, right? The West African tribe, the Dogons that connect to the Sirius star system and that astrology that has now been mapped within. Our sun also has another harmonizing orbit to the Sirius system and the Sirius star. It's kind of like a parent star in a lot of ways. And our sun also emanates from that. So we have this ascending cycle to the Pleiades, but also there are cycles where our sun moves further away from the Sirian star and then closer to, which again amplifies what vibrational energies our sun begins to pick up on. So imagine, again, this is for you to understand that there are times when our sun, which is a solar being, like a rishi, our sun at different times gets into the luminary energy, the ray or photonic streams of energy of other higher dimensional rishik types of energy. Okay. And every time it does, it starts to begin to amplify what our sun then transmits to us here on Earth. And you are part of this light. We are the light. We are the eternal light. Now, I'm going to dive into, and I want to give you guys a definition of light. I was all like, let's look up the definition of light. If you look up light, what is light, right? Because how many of you have heard, oh, we are electromagnetic beings? Have you guys heard that term? You know, we talk about it all being electromagnetic beings. We use the word photon all the time. And I was all like, you know what? I throw this word photon out all the time. Let's get into it. Like, we're using words a lot of times that sometimes are just like these mystical, magical words. We use the word radiation, we use the word scalar or waves, but most of us are not scientists, so we don't really play with this or understand it. But when we look at the definition of light, this is just off of the internet here, I wrote it down. Light is electromagnetic radiation made up of photons, which photons are packets of energy that travel in waves. Okay. And so this is where human design gets really, really special, because we know that human design really is about reading the energy of the packets of information that travels through the neutrinos. The neutrino streams in creation. It's all just packets of information, packets of energy. You are energy. That is what you are. Period. Our consciousness is energy. Energy is consciousness. We say this over and over. If you've ever looked at any of the CDT plate wisdoms, either through the works of the Keylontic works or through energetic synthesis, Lisa Renee, you're going to see this over and over and over again. It's almost like a mantra within there. Consciousness is energy. Energy is consciousness. Energy is packets of these photons are packets of these energy. So you could think of it, because we think of it a lot of times, you want to get a starseed reading. Where did I emanate from? Where did I come from? And we recognize, oh, we came from these eternal light fields. Well, where does light come from? Mind twister, light actually comes from sound, but we won't dive into that right now. Sound creates light. The mantras, the ohms, the sound tones emanate the light. So the light actually emanates from the blackness and the void of nothingness. And we get to recognize that it is the supreme consciousness of gestalt of energy beyond any of our realms. There's so many of us, me, my hands in the air, that I have had that egoic drive of the gate 36. For any of you that have the gate 36, it's a Piscean gate within there. There's other gates that do this too, but it's that restless energy that wants to know something, and then you learn something, and then it says, but then where did that come from? And then where did that come from? Oh, but what is that from? Oh, but what's the origin of that? Right? And we keep wanting to go like, but I want the answer, but I want the answer. But it's like we're kids at Christmas that are opening these packets of like presents of wisdom, but we're like losing our interest in it so fast that we move on. And well, where does that come from? What about that? What's the next biggest best thing? And that has been something I have had to specifically work on as not only a manifesting generator, but someone that has an energy. My design my Saturn actually is my by design Saturn actually, is held within this vibration of energy within the gate 36. So the gate 36 is this transitoriness. It's always the energy that's looking for, and then what? And then what? Right? It's like, here I am now, but you can't ever be in the now because you're always looking for, well, when that happens, or, oh, what about this now? So part of that gift of that gate, because it's a Christed channel, it's a Christed energy. Well, what is Christ? Christ is coming from the Christar sun. It's coming from an emissary sun, really, honestly, from the fields of the aurora suns. And when we look at the aurora suns, these are coming from universal systems way outside of our 12 tree grid of life system. That I'm going to show you an image. Let me actually show you a picture right here. And this particular image over here, I'm actually going to show it through, I'm going to show you through this vibrational energy. So this is from Lisa Renee's site, the Ascension Glossary. You can see the URL up there. And this, we can imagine right here, the one I'm circling right now, is our our universal system that we're living in. So they're universal quadrants, right? So when we think of universal systems and we say we exist in the first harmonic universe, we are actually talking about these three orbs here on the bottom. And then the next harmonic universe would be this diagonal, the third one moving up, and then the as it continues to move up through these systems, we actually start to recognize that we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, 12 starts to actually plug in to, it starts to move into the 13th, 14th, and 15th, which is actually tying in to higher universal systems. So even though we recognize ourselves within this 15-dimensional space, that it's 12 that we're working within, and that 12 over here actually starts to drop us into physicalized or particleized or individuated photonic rays of experience. So remember, if we're coming from a solar deity, a solar being, and photons or packets of energy, remember, you are consciousness, consciousness is energy. So packets of consciousness is moving out of these solar beings. Now, the minute it emanates as a photonic emanation, it starts to become an individuated packet on its own journey. And in the higher planes, you're holding more of your packets of consciousness. You're holding more of the memory. But as it begins to step further and further and further and further down into the denser expressions of creation, locking oneself into physical matter. Imagine a photonic ray that then gets absorbed into a plant body, is now locked into that plant body structure until the plant moves through the cycle of life, death, and then into the transmutation to where that photonic energy can become something else. Okay. Now, as we look at this, we are recognizing that here we are within this creation, but we want to see we're in a mother arc system. And one of the main distortions that happened is that our mother arc got distorted. It got cut off from moving into the higher systems. Now, here's where I want to talk with you about these larger gestalts and systems, because we go like, oh my gosh, like we could think of our solar deity in the system, but then guess what? There's a Sirian A solar deity, a Sirius B solar deity. There's all these seven sisters solar beings, like the solar rishis and the Dubé system. We can recognize that these suns and stars are holding more of the collective consciousness for massive fields of consciousness that then incarnate into family groups or tribes. What are family groups and tribes? Human race, the canine species, the feline species, the aquatic species, the plant species, so on and so forth. If we get that idea, everything is an emanation of creation, just in different forms and at different levels of being part of the greater whole. Now, when we talked about the ruby ray and we talked about the father arc and the ruby dragons, we are talking about our parallel matrix on the left hand side over here, that these two in this blue triangle connect us to our lower heavens. Okay, we exist within the lower heavens right now. We are in a very physical, dense reality, but each of us has a parallel in the higher heavens as we especially move through the consciousness of the awareness of the Rasha body. So this is the dark matter mother template that begins to recognize that our parallel father arc template has a higher heaven parallel matrix in the higher heavens, as does our mother arc. Now I'm going to show this to you in another form over here. Let's play around with some documents. I have a few documents here. These are things that are fully available online if you look for them, but if you want to access them easier, reach out to me personally, and I would be happy to help share some of these with you. And we're going to look at this. This is really beautiful graphics and documents from a presentation that Ashiana Dean did. I think it was the Camelot interview that she did a while ago, quite a while ago. And here's again another representation of these systems. So recognizing here we are. And then as we stair step our way into higher consciousness, recognizing we are connected to the earth matter template, as we begin to move in, we recognize that here we are in the mother template, remember? And then on the left-hand side over here was our higher world, our higher Veka system. Now, when we begin to connect our higher Veka system with our parallel universe and our father Eka system, we actually create something larger. And this system actually becomes part of a even larger Cathar tree of life, right? And as we start to look at this, all of this combined creates something that continuously plugs in and becomes what is known as a Eucharistic body. I know it's a lot, you guys. I wanted to give you guys some images because, again, sometimes we're like, where does it go from here? And where does it go from here? And well, where does that come from? And well, where does that come from? I'm going to tell you that in this incarnation, in our lifetime, we will be lucky to even get access to some of the higher planes of what is going on through what we are let me actually stop this. No, actually, let me come over here. Through what we are embracing just in our higher universes, higher harmonic universes in this system, let alone starting to embed with some of the energy of our parallel matrix. Now, our parallel matrix is really important because for those of you that are really working with a lot of the Aquafarian energies, the parallel matrix is one of the primary matrices that is assisting us, but it is also a very traumatized system. The father system got overtaken by negative Lyran race lines that created the Thetan race lines that basically really created a lot of damage in this parallel matrix over here. And there's aspects within us and within our soul fields that would almost be considered as our evil twin that have been connected to the parallel matrix, but the parallel matrix has had to go through its own rehabilitations in order to now begin to step through. And so when we talk about the father arc and the mother arc coming in, we're talking about energies again from 13th, 14th, 15th dimensional connections, and any of those connections are going to start to be intermediary connections or the tri-founder energies that connect to the higher heavens, the higher God worlds. And when we start to look at these, we could start to look at these as even starting to look at the energy of the Christar or the Christos star. We'll just play with it that way for a minute. Let me see what I had here. Okay, that's when we're going to get into that. Let me stop this share for a second. So, whew, now we get to recognize, okay, here's our sun, our little itty bitty tiny sun. Love him so much, right? But so tiny, just a speck when you start to actually go into the scale of things to other solar beings in the star creation. Why is Antares seen as such a Stargate system? Why are the Ontarians being holding such a massive field? Is that if you look at Antares is this huge, massive sun, and then our sun's just like this tiny little dot next to it. Even Capella is just massive next to our sun. So as our sun is going through this, we want to recognize that it's actually, first of all, first and foremost, our sun is not even in its correct orbit. Did you guys catch that through the Pleiadian distortions? So first of all, we're not even receiving the corrected light codes that we're supposed to receive. And we receive it, unfortunately, on these kind of ascension cycles. And when we are away from it, it's the dark ages or the Kali Yugas that we go through, right? So our sun, through the wars in the metagalactic core, the wars in the metagalactic core, again, are in the Mintakan area. It's kind of about where the belt of Orion, close within there. And as you look within this, we've talked about this so much, so I'm not going to go into this too much. But remember, 8th Stargate is your higher heart. Okay, 8th Stargate, higher heart. Higher heart is the doorway between the matter and antimatter. Okay, so what we're looking at is we're we're in the matter form. We're in these physical silica to carbon-based beings. And then through the 8th Stargate, you start to move between silica to crystalline-based beings. Completely different elementals, if you will. There are no elementals. The elementals are pretty much here. It's just completely different mechanics. It's different energies. It's the photon. It's really, we say plasma waves and plasma rays. This is where we're really entering in to what we would think of as the Hyperborean or the luminaries or the forms that were able to start to take place, but they would have been massively bigger than we are here and holding way more of the light code templates within them. But these we could think of as the War of the Titans. And as we think of the War of the Titans was so massive that it blew up planets. It destroyed massive, it like the Titan energy, if you will. When we think of it through these Hyperborean timelines, the Hyperborean is our Gaian timelines of where the original seedings of the indigo race lines actually started to originate within there. So as we connect to that vibration, it's that energy that actually flipped through the 8th Stargate to where when the light goes through, it has to go. And again, this is so sciencey. Don't ask me how this stuff happens, but I can give you the visual of how the guides show it. It goes through, and it's almost kind of like this spinning that happens that almost kind of inverts it out so that it's like, where the other half? So the below the 70 down is one half, and above 90 up is kind of like the other half. In the 8th Stargate, the higher heart, the heart is again that key gateway. It's the transmutation gateway between kind of light form and into the silica carbon based lower density realms. And this would be the metagalactic core. The metagalactic core is where massive wars. So when the infiltrations came, these basic wars in the Lyran system, the battle moved and really took place within this heart center. And this War of the Titans began to embed the reversal metatronic systems, the artificial machinery in there that started to hijack the universal template so that it could start to siphon or feed the light into their reversal systems. Now, these reversal systems, again, imagine we have those different ecosystems, those different 12 tree grids of life plugged in together. And in these little rotational, actually, let me see if I can find this other graph for you. And I want this one. So actually, if we go down in this particular graph, we start to get to see why do we talk about the lotus of life all the time. And I really appreciate, because there are some individuals that are trying, I guess, anyways, here's the lotus of life. This is where the lotus of life comes from. This is where this whole idea of this energy of the metatronic energy of the flower of life that we see symbolized everywhere on earth is a representation of the cube or the boxed in system, whereas the lotus of life begins to show us the sequential flowing of energy that allows us to continuously move seamlessly through these realms. Now, what I want to show on here is that we have our system. Again, this is, you want to probably get this to just kind of meditate and look at it, but it's in these smaller quadrants. Okay, so here's our system, but quadrants of it went into fall, quadrants of it. So quadrants of our sacred energy went into a fall system, which means particular Stargate or energy centers were hijacked. Artificial or AI technologies or machinery was placed into this. Imagine it if it was your heart and you had to put in an artificial pump into your heart, but that artificial heart started to actually manipulate the whole system in its own way, right? And then we also have within our parallel system, but even within our parallel system, you can see there was a massive fall that happened within there through the Borga black hole and the Thetans, which are Lyrans, okay, from Lyra, okay, so we got our Lyrans that literally became infected with this negative energy that pulled them into basically becoming our own worst enemy. And this is why we recognize that even though they are our parallel system, they're like, in a way, our evil twin, because they are us, but in a fully polarized towards the dark energy. Now, I guess that'll actually work within there. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you with that. I wanted to try to show you guys how the systems plug in. I think there was something down here I wanted to show. This one is actually, it's helpful just in the sense, again, we have a really hard time understanding how do these vortices work? How are these siphonings happening? This is just a little bit of a vibration. This again is showing the cycles that are happening. These would be kind of a representation of the Yuga cycles that are happening. And you can see here's the Milky Way galactic chamber over here on the right-hand side. And as it actually moves in, you can see it creates an energy that moves on. So magnetic peak times, these create chambers, and you can see the Bardo chamber is kind of like an artificial siphoning inside of it that we're having to really, this is what we're here to repair in a really big level. So the next thing we're going to go through is a whole other energy of hijacking of the solar So, are you guys with me? Okay. Love you guys so much. So, within this, one of the things I want to kind of take us down to is here back on Earth. We're coming back to the idea that what are we? We are light. When we are born of the Father, the Son, the energy of Christ being the Son of God, right? And remember him saying that the same that is in me is in all of you. What we really misrepresent with a lot of the teachings upon the planet is that these teachings were not about people. They were not about people. And if you really dive into the Gnostic teachings, the Gnostic texts, the books that have been placed within the Bible and even in other religious systems, you're going to recognize that when you learn to read them from gnosis, from knowing, when you learn to read them from higher mind, they are all books about the astrology and the stars. And the entire book of Revelations, period, is all about the cosmology and cycles of the stars and the different ages within there. So here's where I like to tie in. Why is astrology so important for us? What is it showing us? Remember, our astrology is only showing us our map of the stars from Earth. That's it. So all of the teachings say in some of these spiritualized books are actually telling us the map from Earth. Why was the Temple of Dendra so important is because they are teaching you your map from the point where you are. But it's also showing you how the gods, the Elohim, the beings from the higher heavens that turned not okay, so the Elohim again, there are the Benai Elohim, there are the Elohim that stayed on course in alignment to the higher universal laws of creation, because the Elohim, again, coming from the Elohai, coming from the first emanations of creation, as being part of the first beings created to guard this universal tree of life in this template. But they got a little bit judgy about how some of it was being created, and they began to have favoritism over certain genetic creations over others. So the Elohim, in so many ways, there are multiple that we've interacted with on Earth, and not all of them had our best interest, because many of them became jealous of the angelic human race line, because we have the ability to actually, through our ascension processes, become even more, at least they think. There is no better or less than in creation, so it's all that stupid stuff of being jealous. But within this, we're gonna recognize that within creation here, even in the biblical texts start to show you where the Saturnian forces began to manipulate the universal template and put it into false time cycles in order to control or keep creation on the wheel. Okay, and so when you stay on the wheel, you stay within this system. Where else are you going to go? You're on the astrological wheel for Earth. Where else are you going to go? You're going to keep reincarnating here as, what are you again? Energy. What is the most traded commodity on the earth right now? I actually came across a thing, and I don't have any way to share how to reference it. It was something this guy was talking about a document that was censored, and it was a religious text or a document. It was something that depicted a really ancient text that said that religions were created in order for the subjects to take care of their containers so that they would not destroy the batteries. It's like, ah, my gosh, we will get it. We know it, but we get it, right? So here we're going to step into a little bit of a different kind of energy. So what do we have different luminaries that have come into Earth? A lot of the luminaries that have come to Earth, we're going to look at the Eye of Ra. The Eye of Ra, again, are wisdom keepers and holders. These were usually divine feminine beings, the Eye of Ra, who they held the wisdom of the cosmic sun or the father. And they were the translators of that wisdom to the earth. Much of creation, again, the daughters of the divine cosmic mothers, the daughters of the Sophia dragon, the daughters of the divine, these are divine feminine containers, beings, bodies, creations. When we think of many of the times in Pleiades, just the first word that you hear with Pleiades is you think divine feminine. Generally, a lot of times with the Pleiadian energy, there's this idea of the priestesses and the energies and the guardian energies from the Pleiades. Now, when we really attune to the sacred ancient wisdom teachings, there is this divine energy that it was through many times these divine goddess or feminine forms that they were the teachers. And these teachers taught. So let's just go to something that we might all be able to tune to and think of the Hathors, the Hathors, and the Temple of Dendra. Now, do you think they just painted a big old astrological wheel on the ceiling because they were like, it's so pretty? No, no, the Hathors were like cosmic alchemy and ascension mechanics, portal mechanics, sound tone frequency mechanics masters. They were teachers. They were a university. They were the beings that were here from other star systems. They were the daughters of who were sent to many star systems to embed the wisdom so that anyone in those realms would remember how to get back home. Being these spiritualized beings wasn't just these pretty little dancing with flowers and pretty white gowns. Scientific mastery is what this was. Understanding this. So, understanding what? Understanding as what? The Eye of Ra. The Eye of Ra, again, is going to be about the energy of the sun or the light, the fields of light. So now, as we go into this vibrational energy, we're going to recognize how many teachers came back to keep embedding, to remember that the light is inside of you. And they would use kind of this deification or worship as a worship of the sun. Okay. Now, we're going to get into Sumerian times a little bit. And as we look at the Sumerian times, there's going to be a little bit of an understanding within us. And I don't have a lot of resource on this, but this is something for us to dive into. But there is a lot of talk and wisdom in the ancient indigenous tribes and wisdoms of the time before the earth had a moon. The time before the earth had a moon. There's also ancient wisdoms before the earth had mountains. There's actually, it talks about the time. So when we get to these, we're recognizing that I think we can all agree that we've gotten to the place that we understand that the moon is an artificial creation. It's not meant to be in the system. Um, it actually, from my understanding and from what I've tapped into, that it is an old starship that belonged to the divine, these divine feminine race lines that was actually gone out of commission and then was kind of tractor beamed and used and placed here. It housed within it so many different race lines. There's some benevolent, some not benevolent. There's ancient race lines there that the Sumerian race lines or the Enki, Enlil, Anu, Anunnakis, they wouldn't go near. They were afraid of them. They were like, oh, we'll stay out of your way if you stay out of our way. So that's also where a huge amount of now, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but a whole lot of the things that are happening on the earth are happening. It is used as a satellite. And so within this, in ancient times, in ancient wisdoms, as now post-Sumerian times. So working into Phoenician timelines where blood sacrifice really started to anchor in on the planet, and through these Sumerian times of these rulers that were basically all bartering and trading the earth for their own whims and gains. That this particular time, there is a secondary religion that started to get created, and this religion is the religion of the moon. It is the worship of the moon. So there is really two factions, the worship, if you will, and just to kind of play with etymology, worship, war, W-A-R, worship. We don't want to worship anything. Everyone is sovereign. So the true solar teachings were the Law of One teachings. They were the CDT plate teachings. They were the teachings that said, you are a spark of the divine. So all that you seek is right inside of you. And when you recognize that light, that is where that phrase within the Bible comes, all that I can do, you can do and more. Because you are that and more. So within this recognition, we're getting to recognize that when you look at a lot of these teachings, they're talking about the recognition of he has risen. What does the sun do every day? It rises. And that if it doesn't rise again, what happens to all of us? We might last a little while, unless, again, and this is where we start to understand that we're living on the surface of the earth. So we are truly developing evolutionary species. There are inner civilizations in the earth. So the only way to exist would be able to know how to get into the inner earth realms in order to survive without a solar energy within this place. So I'm not going to go too much deeper into that, but just the concept to start to play with it. That we understand that through the awareness of our connection to the sun, that the sun is where we get our light and our life. And that we also hold that photon energy within us. We are constantly absorbing it. It's absorbed by the plants, the animals, us. It is through us, through this sun, we have life. Now, within this, there started to be a distortion within this energy. And what is the moon? The moon is known as a luciferic energy. And a luciferic energy is just a term that means that it is a mirror, a reflection, that it needs the light from something else in order for it to shine. Now, we can sense that the moon has this dance with the sun. And it has one of the biggest influences on our emotions in this plane because it plays so much on the water element upon the earth, which is the life-giving element. But in past, the moon, the name of the moon was Sin, S-I-N, Sin. That was the name of the moon. And in the ancient wisdoms and teachings, and this is where we're going to kind of tie into this, that Jehovah is tied to the moon. The Jehovian energies, and this is an etymology that I heard from that I kind of I heard from someone else, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. But there is the ancient terms of and I don't have all of them, my gosh, but I'm going to use the word synagogue. Now that I've let you know what the name of the moon is, it's Sin Agog, and it used to be spelt differently, which in the ancient ways. So what it meant was it was the house of the moon. A synagogue was the house of the moon. Okay, so where did this energy come from? Well, we know that when these race lines came to the earth, these Sumerian race lines came to the earth, in order to control the masses, they began to create their own religions and worship or worship. Because what does all religion in the end kind of stand behind in our histories? The perpetual of that kind of separation, or even more, in so many ways, separation, that you need something intermediary to connect to the God source. So here's where I'm just gonna do a cutaway segue and come full circle back, and then we're gonna dive into some questions. Let me dive over here. One of the key things we work with in a lot of the distorted grid work energy is, what are we clearing? We are clearing the Jehovian seals. We call them J seals for short. Okay. And the Jehovian seals are artificial implants that have been placed within our light codings and our DNA sequences. So we know with the histories of the Sumerian texts and these kinds of things, that when the Elohim, when the gods came to the earth, that we know within there that we were created in their image. We also see it from multiple perspectives and understandings, and this is also, I believe it's Greg Braden, I think it is. I think it is Greg Braden, that is putting out a lot of videos right now that he's like, oh, we've discovered the name of God in the DNA. But what name did they actually discover? They discovered Yahweh, which is one of these pseudo gods, or it's a stamp in our DNA that they said, hey, we genetically created you and you belong to me. You belong, you are my property. The seal of Yahweh in anything is going to be the seal that you are deemed the property of something else. But you're not. Remember, you are you are from the light. And so therefore, we're recognizing that the forms on the earth at a particular time were specifically genetically hybridized or worked with. Their genetics got embedded into the genetics that was already on the seeded races upon the earth. And when those genetics happened, there was a lot of battling between, if you want to look at it through Enki Enlil, the battling, good or bad, however you want to look at all of that. We want to just recognize that within the original template of the seed coding of the 12-strand DNA, all of a sudden the 666 death seal got put into our genetics and our DNA, so that we started to be controllable by age of life. We started to have the ability to be manipulated on how long can the species live, because our species doesn't live as long as theirs does. They're not immortal because of the way that they have manipulated their coding, but they can live a lot longer than us. And because they can live longer than us, that means they can basically rule us because their lifespan spans many of our generations. And we don't even pay attention to what our grandparents really did in this lifetime or know much about that, let alone pay attention to history. So we're very, very easy to control if we have no memories because our lifespan is very limited and small. The secondary thing within there is that within these seals are crucifixion seals. These are seals of victimhood, blame, savior. So the savior complex energies. These are going to be all of these energies within that start to create us to have miasms, blockages, limitations, and to have kind of a distortion within our field that kicks us back into limited or lower vibrational energies. So here, I'm giving you this image within here. This is from a manual from the Keylontic system. There's quite a few of us that work with seal and implant removal. You know, if you look up again, Ascension Glossary, Lisa Renee has delved into it quite a bit. A lot of the works of Ashiana Dean and Keylontics talks about it. There is another beautiful soul on the planet. I love her dearly, and I've chatted with her and worked with her, and her name is Indigo Angel. She does a lot of beautiful work with grid work and J seals and implant removal. So it is something that there are quite a few of us on the planet that work in this way and encourage so many more of you to get into as a way to go in and assist. So now let's dive into what is this happening for, how is this being triggered or affected for us right now? Well, J seals are distortions that are coming from our reversal system in the parallel system. And what was the parallel system again, you guys? Let me... The parallel system, again, when we look at it, the parallel system over here was the God world, okay? The Father arc. So the Father arc energy got just like really bastardized and inverted, and all of the energy there really started to take on the hijacking of the divine masculine energy and then embedded it into our mother arc system as a patriarchal teaching of God is a male, God the Father, servitude, and women as being subservient or less than within these patriarchal systems of religion. So the J seal and the inverted system, I'm going to kind of look at it up here. This is another page you can look at within the Ascension Glossary. This one's called the inverted 7D violet ray. But what we're looking at within here is that part of these Jehovian grids created what is called the dove grid. And the dove grid, these are actual places on our physical earth where they embedded these A-pin systems. So they are basically these pylon systems, crystalline pillar systems on the earth that many of them were made out of selenite and particular crystals that they were then able to use like a computer system. In order to hijack, they placed it over the organic system on the earth, and then they hijacked it and created their own program on the top of it. Well, that program on the top of it was coming from these fallen parallel or these Jehovian Yahweh patriarchal energies that were creating domination and control, and the teachings that my God is a jealous God, and you know, all of these types of things. Now, as this started to invert over the earth system, where did the Jehovian seals implant into our body? Take a peek over here for a minute. The Jehovian seals implanted on the left side. the feminine side of our body. All of the Jehovah's seals move all the way down the left side of our body. They are seals and implants within our system that really inhibit that divine feminine flow energy. And then they, of course, hijack the masculine energy so that even if we create the healthy feminine energy, there isn't a healthy masculine energy to tap into. And then we pit each other against good or bad, boys or girls, this and that, my religion, your religion, all of this in these polarities. And with the energy of our sun, now moving into these ascension cycles, we know that there are way more M class, X class flares that are happening. It's massive. We are feeling it. They're doing a lot of seeding in the sky and manipulation of weather because right now it's raining here. And what does that mean? It means I'm being blocked from my source. We are being blocked from the sun. And now all the photonic rays that are coming to us are going through these artificial filters before they get to us and how we work with them. But it's okay. We're working with this. I just want to give you guys the whole gamut so that you know what you're working with when you're working with them, so that we're not coming from a victim point of view, but we're coming from, but guess what? You are a solar being. And the light is inside of you. And your consciousness connects to the sun and to all the solar rishi levels of beings. It connects to the Chris star, the Chris sun. It connects to the crystalline rivers. It connects to the tri-founder matrix councils. So when you think of where all of those systems intermingle within there, we have the tri-matrix councils within there that are basically the councils that are assisting with the rehabilitation of all of the pillars of light, so all the quadrants come online again so that we can start to keep harmonizing with our eucharistic body. That is way more than we'll ever know in this reality, because it's consciousness far beyond. We have such a hard time even just connecting to Rishik consciousness, and that's still in this universal system. So now as we connect to this energy, remember what you put your intention on, you create a link to outside of matter. So again, you don't need to be on a grid point in the earth to do grid work. You don't have to physically be standing there. Your consciousness can be there. You can connect that energy. The more that we remember our photonic messages and light language, light codes within us, we start to come online. We become that bridge and that link that allows the guardian forces to utilize our bioregenesis vehicles in this lifetime. We really have to activate ourselves and come online so that we can become more useful to our higher self and the spirit councils and the guardian councils that are doing a lot of the rehabilitation work. So let me take a breath as I get into how I'm going to segue into this, because there's two factions within this. One, I asked you guys if you were aware of some of the computer systems that were changing the last time. I tapped into it, but I didn't say it as an answer. I said it as a question. Have you guys been noticing any shifts and changes in any of the computing systems, and kind of diving into this? So the Father Arc and the Father Ruby Ray dragons that are coming back into this system are now supporting the Mother Arc systems. Okay. They're coming in. Now, take a deep breath, everyone. I'll take one too. What was bastardized from the Father system? These artificial grid lines and these AI and machinery systems. So these Metatronic systems are artificial systems from the Borga. system. The Borga kind of took it over from the Thetans, and think of the word assimilation. I don't think the Star Trek people were that. I think they kind of knew some stuff, and we were like, "Oh, you will be assimilated." And recognize that's not how God source works. It's not like I will assimilate you. But this is how the Borga system works, and they basically it scared the Thetans. It scared them. It scared the crap out of them because they recognized, holy shit, they took over our Metatronic systems, and they actually upgraded them and have the ability to kind of take over everything. And they like the parallel system fell hard with a lot of this before it was able to reclaim a lot of its energy and start to come back online. So we're getting the assistance now from our parallel system that has the ability to know how to deal with this stuff. Okay, this is number one to recognize. Number two, we're recognizing that even our Earth plane has been hijacked by these artificial machineries that has been asking our organic templates to plug into them. So we haven't actually been plugged into Earth's organic template. We've been plugged into these artificial AI templates. The father rays are coming in, and the number one thing they're resetting is they're taking down these artificial machineries. So this is what I was starting to see within the back end of a lot of these computer systems, network systems, server systems, and how they've been used against us. A lot of those are starting to shut down. At the same time, what is also happening is the divine masculine and the divine feminine is re-merging together again. And one of the primary family lines from the metagalactic core, they're actually from beyond the metagalactic core, but they entered in through the metagalactic core and then got pulled into the drama, was the Metatronic Collective. And the Metatronic Collective created the cube systems. It created the artificial geometries that created that flower of life system that keeps everything in a cube system. And if you don't see that yet, take a flower of life, take it, put it on a wall and stare at it and try not to see the cube in the middle pop out. It's the Metatron's cube that pops out in the middle. And a cube does what? What does a box do? Boxes are for boxing in. So what we're recognizing is that we have an open heart within. We're recognizing that all players on the field in this system came from the original God source. So at some point in time, the Metatronic family was a collective that had the intention to come in and help. And they were a purified collective. They came into the system, they got pulled into the distortion, and they literally got sucked 100% into it, utilizing all their God consciousness to actually mess with universal mechanics for their own self-serving purposes. Now, what is happening through a lot of this rehabilitation is, and I've been seeing this for the last couple of years, this has been brought forth to us through awareness. Even Lisa Renee lovingly shares a lot of this with us, is the rehabilitation of the Metatronic Collective is starting. Now, that doesn't mean we want to go run out and start working with Metatronic energy. I would say it's quite the opposite. They're going through rehab. It is one of the most distorted collectives that entered into this creation and has literally is holding so much karma and debt that they're going to have to balance. But what is coming online is, as it's starting to rehabilitate within there, again, imagine this as someone who's been maybe in a militant force, maybe done a lot of things, maybe served a government, a country, or an agenda, that they served it wholeheartedly. They believed in it. They just did it. They didn't question it. And then starts to awaken and starts to recognize that who they've been using their brilliance for is wrong. But yet now they start to use their brilliance to actually start to take down those systems, to correct those systems, to come in and rehabilitate, and to basically now fight against the very thing they were once a part of. We do need to hold an open heart. There is going to be so many souls on the planet that are going to be doing just that. And we don't want to judge them for who they have been, always for who they are choosing to be now. And as this happens, there are going to be a lot of individuals that it won't be our path, but it will be their path to know how to take down and to know how to expose the structures underneath the facades that have been controlling our species on this planet. And with that, things have to break down and crumble. So what we have also been feeling within here is as the artificial machinery is crumbling, guess what we are also feeling in our body? It's playing off of these J seals within. And I will say that yes, we go through these J seal clearings and we begin to feel them. At the same time, it's important to understand that we can get kind of re-tagged because we're in this ever-changing environment. So a lot of times it's helpful to continuously go back in and get someone else's eyes, inner eye, to help you sense where some of these might be, or to have kind of a hygienic practice to be able to catch when you feel them get activated and triggered within your system. But it is really, really helpful to reach out to someone that has the ability to go through some of these seal and implant removals for you, primarily moving the zeta seal within the heart so that we get that black cube system starting to shut down within our system and we're not manipulated by a lot of the gray manipulations. And to know that these Jehovian practices and moon rituals and moon practices, a lot of them are orchestrated through these gray races, through these hybridized programs and the manipulations and their abilities to work really with no emotion and doing all of this agenda. So with that, that is a lot of what we have been feeling. So as you've been hearing the ringing in the ears, as we've been hearing that activation, as you've been maybe feeling, yesterday was intense and just really kind of feeling it so strong where it's like sometimes these frequencies will turn on that it almost seems like it just wants to shut down consciousness. A lot of dream work that has been happening. Please also recognize, and I'm going to kind of play with your brain a little bit here on this one because this is coming through, is that remember, we are like a network. And within our network, we have linking in our circuitry, linking through our nervous system. You would learn this through the limbic system, awareness, polyvagal system kind of thinking, but also just human design. We see that as our circuitry and how we are attracted to each other. But we are a collective species. We are meant to bounce off of each other and share packets of wisdom and information. Okay, so we are like a web. We are like a network. Well, what else is webs? What else is networks? Where else does pure light emanate? And what is some of the first creations on a planetary system before a species like us actually even arrives? Is we have the fungi network on the planet. So the mushroom, the fungi network is known to be one of the most elaborate networks on the planet. It is the only species on the planet that has the ability to actually exist in open space. The spores of the mushroom can exist in space without being destroyed and can probably move wherever until it lands somewhere and that spore can actually birth life there again. And they are a network, they are collective, they are creative, they are also a consciousness. For those that have ever worked with psilocybin or any of these things, or even if you meditate upon it, psilocybin on a base collective level teaches love, harmony, and we are all one. Ask anybody that's ever worked within that level, the number one thing that they want to teach humans is how to love each other. That you're connected, love each other. Secondary systems comes in what? The plant kingdom. The trees and the plants are a network. They are a network that communicates. And they too are also one of the primary ancestors on the planet that are here to be the wisdom teachers. Every single plant has a different consciousness or awareness. And I'll probably do this as a separate video because I know we're already 90 minutes in at this point. Nope, 2 hours in, sorry. and so understand that we connect to these different consciousnesses that teach us about levels of awareness, networks, or interconnectedness. And what do we primarily consume? Our bodies are made up of these energies. And so if we are not careful many times for what we have consumed, especially within a 4 hour to 6 hour window before we've gone to bed, the majority of your dreams you're going to be having are just going to be hijacked dreams of your digestive system processing stuff. So don't let yourself get too pulled in to sometimes a lot of that. And recognize that there are many, many consciousnesses existing inside of us right now. And that if they are over agitated, like, go ahead and try it. Go ahead and imagine one of those nights that you had where you ate something that didn't sit with you. I bet you probably had something close to nightmares that night in your dreams while you were sleeping, because your digestive system is another one of your brains that is processing a lot of the consciousness upon the planet and primarily involved with your dream state, unless it's empty and you can move and purge yourself to some higher level of your dream state. So I wanted to just kind of tie that in there a little bit. But I actually have a whole other thing I want to share on that. So I hope I answered. I had gone through a bunch of the questions within there. Now I just want to go through here. I will split this up when I post it because, again, our Q&As have been going going pretty long. I feel you've been in a relationship. I feel like I've been, let me see, the sun. So just tapping through some of these questions. Is this the particle and antiparticle, higher and lower heaven? Yeah, this is going to be connected to kind of the idea of the particle, the particle, and the particum idea within there, and the void energy that would be the particle, the ek system, so the ekasha system, and the ka, the partika is going to be the light, and then the particle is going to be the sound tone. So when we really start to look at the higher and lower, we're really starting to look at emanations that start to move us closer to the original sound and light fields of creation within there. And I wish I understood science a whole lot better, because I think I would be better at maybe explaining that, but that is really kind of one of the ways to meditate with it. 9D and up is actually going to be Gaian timeline. And then from Gaian timeline, so the question here, 9D up is Tara. So it's actually from 8D up is going to be the Gaian timeline. Tara is going to be more the fifth dimension or second harmonic universe. So the Pleiades, Taran timeline. And then from there, we start to move into the Aurora Earth. We would start to move into the Lyran system, which connects us to the Aurora Earth template. Yay. Woohoo. Okay, love you guys so much. I love these comments. Talks about Um, little confused. Yeah, so the Voyager's books talks about the 666 seal, the crown chakra, being put in place by creators to ensure we ascend to the 12 strands. Um, Actually, the 666 seal, there are death seals within, and there is a crown of thorns or the 12 crowns of Mary. And primarily within, and I'd have to kind of pull up some stuff to answer this better for you. But a lot of these seals were put into place to actually keep us from moving through particular stargates, through the halls of Amente at particular times. And so seals, you will see in there that the 666 seal looks like it was placed benevolently and not benevolently, and recognize that any seal can actually be misused in any way. Some of them were placed by the higher guardian races in order to contain an infected strands of DNA from entering into the higher heavens until they were rehabilitated enough in order to begin to pass through particular sequences of stargates that continuously allowed us to purify our light codes of any distortions. So that's why we are a bioregenesis vehicle, is because we're basically karma resolution. We are healing the distorted codes within us so that recognizing that we have the ability at the time of death, if we nail it, if we get it, we have the ability at the time of death to actually unplug from all of the energy of earth and actually do the work we came here to do. Recognize that we may have gotten as much done as we could, but also leave our work at work, right? Unplug our light from the entire field so we can move through the Bardo chambers without having to go into a reincarnational cycle bound to the earth. It is absolutely possible to do, and that's what a lot of the guardian hosts are helping with right now. So, oh yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, banking systems, um, computer work. So the comment here, my work computer systems are having major issues over the last couple of weeks. I've been seeing this. I was talking about this in one of the things with even the passport, so governmental systems, banking systems, a lot of the structural systems are getting reset by these guardian races right now through these Father Arc systems. And a lot of how we are feeling it again is through the body of mothers, so through the divine feminine aspect. Been feeling kind of crazy physically and mentally. I'm so sorry. Yes, just so much love. I've been feeling it so much too, you guys. There are times that I just have to just stop. And, you know, you'll see even sometimes I go a little bit quiet on the Telegram just because it's just, there's so much to attempt to process. Um, sometimes feel like I'm going mad at some point, honey. I'm so sorry. But I can sympathize with that so much just because I've been feeling those vibrations go through. Part of this is as much as we can, anchor into your rituals, anchor into your ceremonies, anchor into your practices. If it's fire ceremony, sitting out, if you are in a place where the sun is coming out, if you can catch the rays in the very beginning when the sun is first coming up in the sky, close your eyes and let your face the sun and feel yourself connecting to the crystalline race lines within the sun. Is also a beautiful way to just support, heal, and nurture the body through what we're going through. Um, so Malevolent. Okay, totally get. Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think I went through a lot of these. There are a couple other questions I wanted to tap into, and I love you guys so much for sticking with me through all of this. Um, uh, there was a question through the YouTube of somebody was saying that they were having strange symptoms of physical pregnancy and 5D pregnancies. And, this is something that I still feel is continuing to happen upon the planet. This is something that's actually quite legitimate. There's a lot of initial pregnancies that happen within the body. Some of them happen within some of our light body layers, but a lot of them will start to happen more on a physical layer. The pregnancy will start through the astral plane. And so through the astral plane and through the astral body, which is the fourth dimensional body, a pregnancy will embed and our physical body responds to it, even though it is not physically pregnant. And it will sometimes last up to 3 months where you'll feel this energy before it actually, the body starts to reclaim itself. And it's not much different than, say, if a woman went through a miscarriage. It takes, the body starts to go through the feeling that it's pregnant, and so it starts to push all the buttons, kick everything in gear to get everything going. But then the minute that the pregnancy ends, the body just doesn't go back to normal. It has to start to recognize that it's not pregnant anymore and start to shut down all of those systems again and reset the hormones again back to the level of not pregnant. So for anyone that is going through these kinds of scenarios, the very first thing I would invite you to do is reach out to someone that can help you determine whether or not these are happening through your consent, through benevolent forces that you are aligned to, or are these contracts, agreements, or bloodlines that you're connected to that are connected to some of, say, the grays and the other hybridization and experimentation programs that are maybe not in your highest alignment or not in the highest alignment for humanity. There is definitely a duality that is happening. One of those dualities is that there has been an attempt to harness our genetics in order to support not only dying race lines, but to create a race line that would then kind of just wipe out our race line and become that species for the future timelines. So remember, you can see this through all kinds of evolution of species. We're also a species that's continuously evolving, and we can either evolve back into, say, more in alignment to our seed or founder race's genetics, or if we start to get too manipulated into hybridized lines, we will just turn into something else completely different. So that's important to be aware of. And within this, I want to give some love to someone who was saying that many times they have been faulted for being too emotional, or others feeling that they were so emotional that maybe they let their emotions make their decisions or get to them or anything like that. And I want to put a lot of love out there, because for a lot of us, again, empathic beings that have just way more of the emotional body, and the light bodies activated are going to be feeling so much more. And a lot of times we'll have been raised in a family that doesn't get that, or even maybe draw others around that don't completely understand it. And there is a sense of nurturing that we can have to start to, one, become validated that there's nothing wrong with you, that you actually are divinely perfect exactly the way you are, that your sensitivities are actually a gift. But like every gift, we have to learn how to harness them, manage them, utilize them, how to allow them to be the tools for us so that they don't sway us back and forth through a lot of these emotions that many times make us feel alone, or like we are just not understood or respected by others. And so within that, I just want to put some love out to that for everybody that's also has experienced or is experiencing that. Please recognize, one, to start to bring that love to yourself, that you have to be the one that sees how special you are, or else nobody else is. And love yourself so much that you don't need another person to validate you in this reality, period. Recognize that there is an entire soul circle and a soul team here, that we get it, we feel it, we know it, we love it. And if you are connected to this, then you have found your tribe. You have found your circle, you have found your people. And that within that comes the next stages of spiritual maturity and responsibility of how do you utilize that to maybe catch the things that you can be a gift for. in this lifetime, not only for yourself, but for others within that. So, you guys, I love you guys so much. I didn't get to the heliocentric sun question. I think I got just about every other question out there that was kind of coming through. And we'll just keep playing some more, but I want to respect our time. I realize I've kept you guys really late, and I'm going to let you go. The last thing I do want to say is our gift, our gift for this month's gift giveaway. These are really special. These are some love angels that I have had within my life. And these were very specially collected from a very sacred site upon the earth. There are some beautiful quartz. I also have another sacred energy. I didn't get to touch too much into Venus today, but Venus again is a central place that is really holding a lot of our guardian race's consciousness that is guiding Earth and our consciousness now into realigning again. And it is connected to some of our highest spiritualized teachings that we resonate with and that we have many times incarnated to promote upon the earth. And so with that, I've been playing with it and using it. It has a little bit of sat, but it is another beautiful crystal, but it is in the shape of the star that resembles our divine Venusian energy. And it is a beautiful calcite, yeah. Ooh, and I don't remember the other stone at this time, but it's a very special sacred tool that I have been gifted with that we got on our travels at a particular time. So it holds the energy of the land, but it has been used for holding the sacred Palo Santo sages and the different sacred wisdoms of creation that help us hold sacred space. And so these are the gifts that I'm really excited to hand out. So from the people that are here today, I'm going to go ahead and do a pool, and I will announce that later on our channel so that I can send a gift out to you, because it's one of my favorites. I love being able to mail out gifts. So with so much love, let me just see. Oh, 6. What am I missing? Yes, fluorite. Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to the Guardians. I love you too. Love you guys so much. Have such a magical rest of your day. I love you.